Back when I was in college, I had this privilege one January, the break between semesters, to be a part of what was called a T group, a training group. And um, we would do these little exercises as a small group where we would sort of be giving each other feedback. We were learning how to be able to relate to each other and pay attention to how we were impacting each other. And at the end of one of these exercises where people were reflecting to me about how they saw me, what was their experience of how I showed up in my relationship with them. At the end of that, the facilitator turned to me and said, "Mark, so tell me, how do you feel?" And I had no earthly idea how I felt. Now, I was aware that when he had turned to others at the end of, when they're kind of sharing experience, they could say how they felt. Other people in that group were aware of their own interiority in a way that I was not. I grew up in a family where we didn't talk about feelings. We were, you know, I remember saying once that I could count on one hand the number of times that I saw my dad get angry, and then I tried and I couldn't make it to 5. So I grew up in a household in which it was really not expected that we be able to talk about our feelings. And having looked back at my parents' experience and trying to trace that back, I understand where that comes from. And they were wonderful, loving people. Don't get me wrong. I grew up in a wonderful family, but it did not include much expression of emotion. And so as I became aware that other people had feelings, it was like, I thought maybe I was missing something. And so I have made a fairly conscious effort during my adult life to be able to pay attention to what it is that I'm feeling, what's going on in my own interior. And I think I've gotten fairly good at it now, but it has taken a lot of practice. And I've also become aware that we live in a culture in which we are not encouraged to know what we feel, certainly not encouraged to say what we feel. And if we say what we feel, then there must be something wrong with this. Certainly this is true in a business setting, but even in the context of our primary relationships. And this is mostly true, or more true rather, I would say, with men. But women don't have a lot of permission to express their feelings either, because if women start to express a bunch of emotions, then we can discount them as being hysterical. So we are not encouraged to know what is going on in our own interior. Why would we want to do that? Because that's how we get connected to ourselves. That's how we become conscious of who we are. And so a part of what we're going to be doing here in terms of paying attention to our needs by paying attention to our emotions means getting grounded in our own interiority, being able to look at what's arising with us. And this is not irrational. It's not rational. It's emotional, but it's not irrational. It's not navel gazing. But it is a capacity to be aware of our own thoughts, feelings, and the aspects of ourselves. And part of what we discover as we pay attention to that is that our own interior is fully as diverse and varied and dynamic as anything that's happening outside of us. We are ourselves a complex dynamic system within the context of a dynamic complex system, which is the world around us. But being able to relate to the dynamism and the complexity of the world and the relationships of which we are a part requires that we be self-aware, that we be able to reflect on our own interior experience. Now, this is a fifth order of consciousness. You'll notice in the comments below here that there's a link to a page on my website, justconflict.org, where I'm talking about the 8 orders of self. Myself is a structure that we create by how we pay attention to who we are. It's formed by what others think of us. It's formed by how it is we want to be. So you can follow that link and learn more about the 8 orders. But the point here is that being able to address the issues that arise in our relationships with others only becomes possible to the degree to which we are aware of what's happening within us. We have to be self-conscious. That's something that we're able to do as humans, but it's not something that we get a lot of cultural support for. So it takes a conscious effort. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on here is being able to pay attention to what's going on within ourselves when we're stewing about something, sensations, thoughts, emotions, wishes. Right?